we wanted to play this more expansive game as well. And Heineken just said, all of that's done. We're back to South Africa. Like you say, one way, nothing else. We kick the ball, we don't play rugby. That's all we're going to do. And we're going to defend, we'll play off turnovers. That's it. And I mean, we bought into that, and that's when South Africa's their best.
Hello and welcome to the RugbyPass Offload with Ryan Wilson and Max Laif. And shortly we'll be joined by the most capped Springbok of all time in the legend that is Victor Matfield. First things first, why am I opening a BBC Sport page, Ryan, and finding some lovely little quotes about your time at Glasgow Warriors?
Oh, yes. I got messaged a few times. Where are you headed, old bean?
So did I. I got a few of them as well. Not like people I haven't heard from for like 5 years. Like, what are you doing next? Like, hold on, hello, nice to hear from you. Yes, hey, boys, it's all coming to an end, isn't it? It's all coming to an end. Well, the Glasgow career is keep my options open. Let's just put it that way.
What are the prospects? Where you're thinking?
Probably Toulon, Clermont.
Oh, you know.
Some pretty big clubs after me at the moment. So I'll be 34 in May. But no, it's been a very weird week. We've obviously known for a while in here without people on the outside. I've known for about 2 months now. But it's been an emotional day today. Today was like, I actually at one point when they got up and announced it to the boys yesterday on Monday, it was I had to just double check I wasn't dying. It was like, is this terminal? Am I off? Am I dying here? It did worry me. I had to check with the doctor, but they gave me, which they forgot to give me, must have forgotten to give me at the time, my 150th and 200th cap for the club. So they gave me those today. Big Richie Gray and Dunky Weir presented me with them. And then we had some messages. I love them. I absolutely love them.
The familiar and like past players.
Yeah. If you could guess, right? Okay. If you could guess 2 players from my time at Glasgow that did a message, you've both got to guess at least 2 each. Come on. Who would have left me a message?
Ben Russell Stewart.
Ben? Yeah, essentially.
No, neither of those. No, come on. People that are like close to my heart.
I heard you guys were the Glasgow Mafia back in the day. That's what I get.
Back in the day, but like my brethren's, where my heritage is.
What? People who grew up in England but turned out for Scotland?
No. Nakarawa, one of them. Yeah, he came in and gave me a lot of Hebrews. Mamalua. He pretty much spoke for Gin for his whole thing. No one could understand it except me, but it was beautiful. He went back to God and said that God's got a plan for me, so that was good. Nice to know. Yeah, Nakarawa was one of them, and another for Gin.
Oh, Nico. Of course, babies.
Alvingo. And okay, so now I must toast to you. And he gets this bottle of whiskey out. You can tell he's dreading it. He pours it. He looks at it. Drinks it in front of like, oh man. But no, so got a few good messages. Dave Rennie, Callum Gibbons, Rob Carney actually had left a message because they said they tried to get some Munster lads to send me a few good ones, but no one would put their hand up. But yeah, it was nice. It's been a good day. So all geared towards this weekend against Scarlets.
Did you cry? Did your voice waver?
No, only right at the end of my About Me, because I told it was all about my story and how I've gone, ups and downs of Glasgow, and there was some funny newspaper articles I put up in there, which you can only imagine involved the crayon Batman, people dressed up, and it was right at the end where I did the your why and about like the kids, and it went a bit there. Because obviously I had to tell the kids, we had to sit the kids down and say, listen, just a heads up, because they're old enough to understand now. And, Jax has been going to the Glasgow Warriors camp. So we thought we'd better tell the kids before someone else tells them. So that was the most difficult bit, telling the kids, because they're obviously the uncertainty. They're like, well, so where are we going? Are we leaving? Are we moving away? So yeah, that got me a bit at the end, but I held strong. I'll go after the game. Easy.
Oh God. I kind of like it, but also I'm like, I get real like compassionate when guys are up there and their voice starts going, and I'm like, oh no. Like this season, Andy Uren's one was bad. Like he was he was crumbling, just melted under it. He couldn't even get a word out to get Joe Joyce to say out his because he had like a little piece of paper to say everything. And Joyce had to help him out. Oh,
it's emotional. It's emotional.
It really is, especially when it's like with you, it's your club, your OG #1 club.
13 years, boys. 13 years, and it's all coming to an end. That's when you realise it's a fucking business at the end of the day, bastards.
Yeah, but that's just life, isn't it? Like the only permanent thing in this world is everything's impermanent. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's deep.
Deep.
Oh, Max has got a little Borthwick. Look.
I know.
Yeah, what's happened, Maxie?
Oh, mate. So last week, obviously, we got knocked out by Claremont, and then Thursday, GUI session, straight recreation at the Battle of Helm's Deep, full contact, probably V possibles. You know how it is. S&C have to have their pound of flesh. So they dust you up, throw you in there. God damn it, units for days, just scrums came out, and my face was, half. It's healing up nicely, though.
What are you doing? You just signed a 1 year, mate. You could just sit back and relax now, surely, for the rest of the season. Like that.
Guys, not quite that established to be managing myself that way, but we move.
We are now delighted to be joined by a rugby legend in Victor Matfield, who's represented his country 127 times, won the Currie Cup 3 times, the Super Rugby title 3 times, the Tri-Nations twice, and a World Cup. Absolute titan in every single way, and widely regarded as one of the greatest forwards in the history of the game. Hope you like that intro, Victor. You've just got back from the Hong Kong Sevens. How loose did it get over there?
No, it sounds good, the introduction. Look, the Hong Kong Sevens was just amazing. Wasn't an easy trip. Still trying to catch up on some sleep, but just so nice to see the people hopping in the South Stand. Everyone just loving it and supporting the rugby. And I must say, the one thing that really surprised me, that was really amazing, was the women's game. I went to the tents before as well. I mean, the quality of the women's game is just unbelievable as well.
How's your liver? Is it taking a beating? What was your poison of choice?
It took a bad beating. So we had 3 big nights. Then I had a 24-hour flight back. Then I had to jump in the car, drove to Bloemfontein for a Varsity Cup game. And I'm on my way to PE tomorrow again for Super Sport.
Did you bump into Brian Habana when you were over there?
I didn't see Brian, so I saw quite a few guys. Bumped into Matt Giddo, Simon Shaw, and I was at quite a few of the same functions. Jim Hamilton, saw Skalky Brits, of course. So but I didn't see the HSBC boys. Are they in their own little world there? All the other of us, we were just in between the boxes, seeing each other all over. So that's good.
The only reason I asked is because I was talking to someone about him the other day, and we were talking about, beers and red wine. Apparently, he's like a Malibu and pineapple guy. Like he doesn't. That's what he goes for.
He's a bit soft. He's a winger, so we have to give it to him. And I think he was actually in costume for quite a bit. So maybe I walked right past him and didn't see him.
Oh yeah, he was dressed as the mascot, wasn't
he? Yes.
Yeah.
Were you dressed up, Victor?
No, we had one charity event where we just had a French theme. We had a little bit of hair and masks and everything, but that was just for the charity event.
Let's kick off with, a run through your incredible career. Take you back to your earlier days growing up in Petersburg. You were a talented rugby player, but also a talented cricketer. And if it hadn't been for an injury, I've been told, it was cricket that you were actually trying to pursue more seriously, right?
I think I was more successful. So I always loved rugby and cricket at school, all sports actually. Played tennis, played everything with the ball. But rugby and cricket were the 2 things I really stood out. And in rugby, especially in high school, didn't perform that well. Where with cricket, I was always in the provincial sides, always captaining the sides, always the leading run scorer and everything. So cricket actually went really well. And then I was an all-rounder, a bit more of a batsman than an all-rounder. But then all of a sudden, my second last year, I really struggled when we fielded for a long time to stand. My back was just going. I couldn't walk, and didn't stop me from playing. But I think that just pushed me into the rugby. And actually, I just things just happen. I got a bursary from the University of Pretoria, Bakkies, to go study, and from there I actually missed out on SA under 19. I made SA Academy, that's the B side, and then when I went to Pretoria, while the guys were on the SA under 20 World Cup or whatever, I stayed behind and I started playing for the Blue Bulls on the 21 side, and they came back, and I was ahead of them for the rest of my career. So it's actually a good tournament to miss, and I played myself in that same time into the Tucks first team of the varsity, and things just quickly went very well.
We just quickly touch upon the end of your cricket career, if you will. There is a moment a Quickfire 62 in a sold-out charity game against the Proteas, which is the full South African team, and at the time, one of the best bowling attacks in the world. Amazing performance. Where does that rank in your pantheon of sporting achievements?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I mean, it was sold out Wanderers. People were loving the game. But I must say, they only bowled off 3 steps. That helped a lot. So Dale Steyn actually joked and started off, and he came in and he bowled a slow ball bounce and hit me straight against the helmet. So then I said, no, come up. There's only 3 steps for you guys. And but it was such a good event, and the cricketers loved it. We loved it. The people loved it. But I mean, to score 50 against Dale Steyn and Morne Morkel, I'll take it any day.
Okay, I can't imagine they were arguing back when you said, no, only 3 steps. Yes, sorry, Victor, only 3 steps. Only 3 steps. I'll be like, ping.
that game actually helped me as well, because Dale Steyn actually made a joke where he wanted, before that ball even, he ran in, he stopped, and he came over and he took a selfie with me and posted it on Instagram, whatever. And then I think 60% of my following on Instagrams are Indian. So he helped me with my following on Instagram as well.
Yeah, but hang on. Even in a charity game, someone like Dale Steyn or Morne Morkel, you're hitting one of them for 6. They're not that happy about it, are they?
Yeah, they were, because they were some of the older guys. I think Rabada just came in, and he weren't very happy with that. So I think the ball I got out, he just put a little bit of back into it as well, and he was just tired. They didn't want to lose. But I mean, then Willem Albers came in at the end, and I think he hit like 34 or something from like 10 balls, and we won the game. So it was pretty good.
In any case, Victor, we've had a lot of South African legends on the show. They all have a different tale about their schoolboy initiation, which kind of blows our mind every time. What was your first 15 initiation, and how brutal did it get?
So I didn't go to one of these big schools. My first one was probably with Bakkies, within 3 months after school, we went on this tour to another varsity in Potchefstroom, the Picker. And I've never drank anything in my life up till that stage. And in that Contiki, like we call it, I had to decide between, am I going to down a beer or 2 beers, or am I going to have like soap and salt water and I don't know what the hell. And I said, no, let me try this beers. And I had 2 beers, but I just had the best evening of my life. And that probably put me in the wrong directions from there on. After there was no stop.
The day a new person emerged was the 2 beers.
Yes. Just changed completely. I had a dance for the first time with a girl dance to everything. Just crazy.
You became a man that day. You became a man.
I became a man, definitely.
Women.
I'm assuming you had some slightly more brutal ones in your career than 2 beers and a dance with a girl.
No, we had some bigger ones. And I mean, the Springbok initiations are pretty big. We had some big ones.
Which poor bloke had to cane you then?
Yeah, so I was a youngster, and when you're a youngster and you're coming through, you can be arrogant or you'll back yourself. So I played against Mark Andrews in this game before I became a Springbok. And at the one ruck, I went in and I'm like, so shouldn't you be retiring? Are you a little bit old? I think it's time for you to move on. And of course, you get to the Springboks, you're sitting outside the room, all of a sudden you walk in, and who's the guy initiating you? Mark Andrews, the guys that they told. And of course, that story is the first one that comes up in the fines meetings. So yeah, it didn't went well from there for me.
Oh, just sat there wielding his cane.
Yeah,
Bring him
waiting
in.
for his opportunity.
Oh,
Victor, did you hand out any of those?
Yeah, so I mean, the three senior guys always in front, and most of the time there will be one of the three senior guys. So I was probably the senior guy for almost 40, 50 test matches. So I got the opportunity to sort out a few youngsters.
Who was which one did you take the most pleasure in sorting out?
Probably Lure Jager. Also, he almost took my place in the team, and I was still sitting in front. So, but I just loved Lure. He was an unbelievable, nice guy as well, and we worked together um, very nicely. But I think just a guy that I knew was going to take over from me. It's actually a great honor to initiate him into the team.
Talking teammates, you and Bakkies Botha are perhaps the most famous partnership in rugby history, known as the Enforcers Together. But before you started playing alongside each other, can you tell us your memories of when you first played against him?
Yeah, so Bakkies is 2 years younger than me. So we played a lot of rugby in the Vodacom Cup, Currie Cup with some of the lower ranked teams in the competition. And there was this youngster, 19 years old, but the most irritating player I've ever played in my life against. I promise you, he's 19, but he was thin back then. He was 104, 105 kgs. I was a bit bigger then. I was about 120. But this guy just wouldn't stop. And I was like, yeah, this guy really irritates the hell out of me. And then I got signed back to the Bulls. And we were at the training field. All of a sudden, a purple Lanos came driven in, but with a boombox. You could just hear boom, 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 boom next to the field. And we were all like, who the hell is this coming in? And as he got out, it was Mr. Bakkies Botha, this youngster who irritated the shit out of me. And I thought, how the hell did they sign this guy to come to the Bulls? He should stay with the Falcons for his whole life. And I mean, wasn't 4 months later, we started playing together. And yeah, we built a bond and a partnership that lasted a long time, and that was really good.
I had to Google what Lanos was. Is that what that is? Is that?
That's it. The purple one, yeah. That's exactly. It looked like that. And his whole boot was just like subwoofers and I don't know what. I don't know anything about those things, but it was full.
Oh no.
He was a nightclub bouncer, so you must think the background he comes from. So yeah, wild boy. But he changed completely. I always say, so he arrived with the Bulls, 106 kgs, bouncer, wild child. And I arrived there 120, really straight and narrow boy, didn't drink too much. And then at the end of our careers, he was like 125 kgs, never went out, just stayed in the hotel. I was down to 106 kgs, but I didn't miss a party. So it changed quite a bit throughout our career.
Trading roles, nice.
Wait, Victor, how wild was he though off the pitch when you guys were younger? He was, as you mentioned, but apparently he was very loose.
No, he was very. I mean, even when he got older, you'll have like one night where he said, "Okay, I'll come with you boys," and it was just a handful. I couldn't leave him. I had to stay alongside him the whole night because he just gets mad. He will just take someone, pick them up, or just throw them there. Or he'll. I mean, the one evening he abused Brian Abana, unbelievable. He couldn't believe it. And I just had Bakkies, calm down. Bakkies, calm down. And he's like shouting and he's loud, something he's never. So it was maybe better that he stopped drinking at a very young age. Because he hurts you, even if he thinks he's just giving you a hug, it's painful.
Oh my God.
Is he one of the toughest guys that you know?
No. So there's probably three guys that it's like that, or four guys. It's Bakkies, then Donnie Rousseau. And it was always so funny, but I mean, because we played with the Bulls and the Springboks, and most of the time, either Bakkies would be on my side and the other one will be on the other side. And the two of them came out of school. They were actually Bakkies at primary school. Bakkies played scrum half and Donnie played 10. So they were best mates. Donnie's dad was their school teacher. He actually gave Bakkies his name, Bakkies. It's actually John Phillip. So he called him Bakkies. So that's where it started. So they were playing against each other and competing all the years. And Donnie was probably the only oak that would never give a step back for Bakkies. So it was always just going at each other. So those two guys are probably two of the toughest. Then Dwayne Vermeulen, playing against him, playing with him, going to a bar with him. I mean, if you touch your arm, it's sore. It's just a hard bugger. And the other one is, and I was actually in a bar in the same night with Dwayne and with Alan Wynne-Jones, where both of them maybe had one or two too many, and they were just picking me up, walking around with me in the bar. Here's another one. Give me to the other one. They will walk around with me. So, yeah, those four guys are just crazy.
I think Dwayne's only been that tough thanks to the tramadol that he used to take before games, though. Surely,
yeah, the tramadol helps him a lot. All the pain, that knee, to just get that knee to straighten up.
And I don't know how he's still going. He was telling me some of his tales. Jeez.
It was John Smith on here who told us a great one about Bakkies beating up Matt Stevens in the scrum, I think at the 07 World Cup. You must have had a perfect vantage point.
Yeah, so it was 2006. So Bakkies and myself at that stage, I mean, there's not a lot of games where we didn't get to the hooker at least. So, I mean, John was one of them that got it from the two of us. So Bakkies normally at the hook and I at the tight head prop who I could sort out. And in that game, like John would have told you, Bakkies were like, he couldn't understand how Matt Stevens play for England because he's South African boy. He was in Pretoria, in school, right next to Loftus Versfeld. How can he play? And so, of course, Bakkie said, listen, we need to sort him out. So the first scrum, Matt was on the tight head. So I had a go at him, gave him a little scar, just a little bit. And he went on, he played. Next scrum, Bakkie said, first to me, combo change. And I'm like, okay, I know what is coming. So I go to the tight head. John Smith looks down and said, Bakkies, why are you on? And he said, don't worry, I know. So John knows he just need to pull away, and Bakkies gave him a brilliant one, and he's off the field. Halftime comes and we go into the change room, and Smitty is like, boys, that's enough now. He's actually a nice guy. I went to school with him. He's not that bad. Let's get on with the game. And we like, okay, it's fine. As we go back on, Matt Stevens comes out. He's back on the field. Next scrum, as we go down, Bakkies tells me, combo. I'm like, okay, Bakkies, it's shift. I don't have a problem with it. And as John looked down, John just say, no, boys, I've talked to you about this. And Bakkies said, just one more cappy. And that was the last scrum of the game for Matt Stevens. He didn't come back on. It was done.
Max, you ever had anything like that? The good old days, eh? But have you ever had a second row coming through onto you? Because it doesn't happen anymore, does it?
Yeah, but it's good times. I mean, the cameras, I still think you can get away with it, actually, because the cameras focus on the scrum. And as the ball goes, all the cameras goes. And you've got like a 2-second gap where you can still sort things out. There's no chance they'll catch you.
Oh,
so, I mean,
I've
got another story. So we've sorted quite a few. I mean, we've had a big game against the Sharks with BJ Botha. So the whole thing at that stage, the Bulls, no one could beat us. But the Sharks had this brilliant scrum with BJ Botha, John Smith, and the Beast. So they were just coming through, killing anyone at scrum time. So we had everything except our scrum was not average. It was good, but it didn't kill other. We just survived. We got quick ball in and out. And the whole week in the papers, like BJ Botha. And he was on my side. So I sorted out two punches. He was done. Off the field, they couldn't scrum. We won the game easily. Dick Meir he was mad. You couldn't understand. And then 2 months later, we played the Sharks again, and Bizmark Du Plessis came on and he started, and not John. And as we went to the first scrum, he stood there and I looked Bakkies and myself in the eyes. I said, if one of you touch me, I'll kick you in the face. I promise. I'm going to kill you guys. I will kick you. They can send me off. And we didn't touch Bismarck. So he made sure we didn't touch him because we knew he will do it. He will really kick us in the face before we go into the scrum.
Max, have you had it? Anyone come through?
I've been next to Dani Kuzia against Breathe Away, and this big Georgian second row came through the middle with an uppercut from hell. And then he's just claret everywhere. But Dani just wore it like a badge of honor and then blew his nose out all over the opposition hooker. Top man. He's
Yeah, Donnie was
like
also a
they
tough
call
guy.
him the Tokolosh. The Tokolosh. Yeah.
Tokelos, yes.
Yeah.
Just finishing off with Bakkies, he was the only person in history who managed to shut Mike Phillips up. How did he do that?
Yeah, so Mike Phillips never stopped stalking. And at some stage, Bucky's hit him, and I don't know what happened. And he's like, "Are you PSPs?" And I think one more, "Are you guys on steroids? What's with you?" And Bucky's just looked at him and says, "You've got beautiful blue eyes." And he blew him a kiss. And that's it. Mike Phillips was just quiet.
Awesome.
No.
Talking of big characters and mentioning '09, that year you captained the Barbars to only their second ever victory against the All Blacks. First things first, most importantly, apparently you and Pauli had a couple of good drunken scraps in the hotel. What are your recollections of those?
He's one of those guys, one of the other four that you can't control. He's uncontrollable. But no, it was good fun. I mean, 2009, before I get to the Barbarians, it was just one of those years where everything went right. I mean, 2007, we won the World Cup, won Super Rugby, and I thought you'll never be able to have a year like that again. Then we went into 2009 with the Bulls, won Super Rugby by a record score of 60-something against the Chiefs. Went into Tri-Nations, we won the Tri-Nations, won the All Blacks 3 times in a row, beat the British and Irish Lions in that year. Then I went back to the Bulls, won Currie Cup as well. And then end of year tour, captaining the Barbarians against the All Blacks and beat them a 4th time in 1 year. It was just, couldn't believe the year. But yeah, so we had Nick Mallet as the coach. And Nick can be hard, but I mean, he can be fun as well. So we had first night, hard night, went big. Then we had one training session, and unfortunately, VPNL was the only uncapped player from South Africa who plays for Scotland now. And as we arrived there, everyone is pretty hungover, but VP really looked bad. And I think he slapped one of the Aussie boys the previous night because they took his drink late on after I left. And Nick got hold of him. So he had to do fitness for an hour while the others of us were just playing touch rugby. And at some stage, we just went to stand and just support him. And Nick just didn't stop with him. So he buggered him up. And yeah, and then we only had a captain's run in across from the hotel in the park and went into the game. And it was just unbelievable. I mean, if you play with such top players, I mean, there was no moves, there was nothing. We had 1 or 2 line-out calls. Most of us was just like, ice throw, let's go. And I mean, to play with a Farida Pri and a Matt Dito at 9 and 10 just makes it so easy. I mean, they just know exactly when to do what. And Drew also, I mean, yeah, they made carnage in the hotel. But on the Friday or the Saturday before the game, team talk, Nick goes at Drew and says, "You brilliant. If you get the ball in your hand, you're so damn great. Just the first thing, just catch the ball first before you do anything, because you knock it on so many. Just catch the ball and then you can make your magic, do your magic." Of course, first kicks go up in the game onto Drew Mitchell. Drew goes up. I promise you, the ball bounces 2 meters left of him. He doesn't touch the ball. And I'm like, this Nick Mallet is screaming from the side. But yeah, that was almost our last mistake in the game. After that, things went pretty well.
Who were the other legends that day?
Bakkies played with me. I mean, Pal was there. Jamie Roberts, unbelievable at 12. Jacques Fourie at 13. Brian scored 3 tries in that game, I think. So yeah, it was just, yeah, everyone was there.
Now, we mentioned it earlier, that Lions tour, yours in '09, has gone down in history as one of the toughest and most physical tours of all time. What are your memories of the sheer physicality of those 3 tests?
Yeah, going into test matches, there was a lot of talk about the South African team that won the World Cup starting to get a bit old. There's these new kids coming through. And I remember in the press conference before the first game, I was there. I think myself and Bakkies were actually, and they were starting to talk about this Irish pairing with Paul O'Connell leading it, of course. just taking over as the best locking pair in the world. And I was sitting there thinking, you're making a mistake, starting to talk like this with Bakkies next to me. And yeah, we went out in that first test match and just one of our better performances. I think we got stuck in first scrum, just the hard line from 12, one carry. Next one, John Smith just comes around the corner and just blew over the try line. So I think that first test match, we just dominated them physically. Then the second test match, probably a bit overconfident, and they started really well, and we were actually in trouble. Then Peter made the changes at halftime, bringing Mornay Steyn on. We played at Loftus and Jacques Fourie. I mean, Jacques Fourie were for a long time probably our top centre in South Africa, and him coming off the bench just brought something else into that game. So yeah, one of the better test matches I've been. One of my highlights in my career, I mean, being at Loftus. And then as that last penalty came, we had Frans Steyn in the team that, of course, can kick that easily. But I knew, I mean, Mornay played that year for the Bulls. Super Rugby, I think his kicking percentage was like 95, 96%. He just didn't miss anything. So I just went straight to John, said, this is going to Mornay. Don't even think about Frans Steyn, give it to Mornay. And as Mornay put it down, it's just, you just know he's going to kick it. He's not going to miss it. So, yeah, fantastic end to that game.
You mentioned the media bringing up these young locks coming through in that first test, but then Simon Shaw makes his Lions debut in the second test at 37 years old, and even man of the match, and he was given sort of perfect 10 out of 10 by all the papers. What did you make of coming up against him in that game?
Yeah, Simon is one of those locks that you don't want to play against. I mean, when it comes to line out mauls, stopping it, and them, and just the physicality, he's just a big, strong boy. So that second test, you could immediately feel the difference. I mean, he just brought that power that we always had in the Bakkies or in the even Etzebeth these days. So, yeah, sure, he was a very tough guy to play. And I think he was way underrated. I actually said it in Hong Kong now as well. One of those players that you actually didn't want them to pick because he might have few things he can't do as good as some of the other players. But I mean, once he gets a hold of you, once he gets into that maul, he's always over the top and he gets to the guy at the back. It's very hard to get your maul going if Shorzy was on the other side.
I'm sure he never mentions like that he got 10 out of 10 in the newspaper that weekend. It doesn't bring that up.
Yeah. He didn't talk too much about himself. He actually talked a lot about his dad and his first test match. So
I texted him.
Guy.
I texted him saying, "Hey, you got anything on Vic Day?" All he said to me was, "He stole my Bakkies stories, and he's not bad for a Safa."
It was actually so funny. So we were at the same charity event. So all his highlights was getting yellow cards. And mine, they showed where I jump in the line out, where I scored tries, where I give nice passes, do chip and chase. And Shorzy, just yellow cards coming out every time.
He's a good man, eh, Shorzy. He can drink. He can put a few red wines away.
Yeah. No, he's a big man.
2 years earlier, you were man of the match in the World Cup final against England. Just give us your memories of that final.
Yeah, it's a game where, I mean, in the pool stages, we just blasted them off the field. And we know in that final, if we just do everything right, don't take chances, we should win the game. And yeah, luckily, I think we stole about 5 or 6 lineouts that made quite a big of difference, that gave us territory and position. Didn't play much with that. We just, most of the time, just kick it into their half, waiting for them to make mistakes and Percy kicking it over. So, yeah, it's always nice when you get something like that. Some of the other games, I thought I probably played a bit better. But yeah, for that game, being a man of the match in the World Cup final is pretty special.
Cueto try, is it yes or no?
But we didn't make a difference. We won by 10 points.
Fair enough.
But no try. Still no try. Everyone is going on about Cueto, but I think it was, who was the other winger that went through? I got him from behind, like 5 meters before the try line, and he was open, and I just caught him from the side from behind. So I say, let's talk about that tackle, but no one is talking about that tackle. I'm waiting for this. I'm going to show everyone that I actually made the match-winning tackle.
He's actually Matthew. It was Matthew Tate, right, making a break through the middle, and he's
Yeah,
talked
Matthew
about it
Tate.
on here. And he said the funny thing is, no one picks up the fact that he then got totally wiped. Did you then wipe him
Yeah,
out
I
as
was the
well?
one. I was the one that made that tackle on Tate. So I was like, no one is talking about that. They're just talking about Donny making the big tackle on the sideline. So
With that team, did you just approach in attack? Did you just approach the gain line as overpowering, being square and overpowering opposition, just straight up the guts? Like, was there much deception, or were you just like, we're just going to try and impose ourselves?
So back in that day, we had like two decision makers. We had 9 and 10, so we didn't have like a tip on from forwards giving to each other. So it's actually just for really a pre and making decisions. So forwards would always just be either around the corner playing the same side, or once it gets to the 15, we'll come on the reverse line, and we'll just run as hard as we can. Sometimes with someone on your back, sometimes by yourself. And Fourie will either play the forwards or you play behind us to Bucci. And then from there, Bucci can most of the time just kick the ball. We were very conservative in 2007. I think after that, more to 2009, we developed our game quite a bit with always having like 3 options from 9, 2 options from 10. But still, we didn't believe in the forwards making the passes. We believed in 9, 10 taking the ball to the line. The forwards you just come as hard as you can. The only guy that we're allowed to probably make passes was Skalkberger. He was pretty good at it.
I can confirm that. I played against South Africa a couple of times, and there was absolutely no way any of you passed the ball often. I remember a 2015 game at St James's Park coming on after about 50 minutes and being like, "Oh no, here we go!" And I think they just brought on Willem Alberts for Skalkberger. You had like the Toit coming on for Jaeger, all these guys. I'm like, "Oh no, here we go!" And it was just straight up the guts every time.
Yes.
It was a miserable day at the office playing against those boys. Fuck. You were in you came back for the 2015 World Cup, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Down at Brighton. That didn't go to plan though.
It was actually, Japan was tough. Japan, but after that, we recovered pretty well. We had a lot of injuries, but the people didn't understand. We had about 7 of our first choice guys that were injured in the pre-building up, so they didn't have any game time. So we had the option of playing some of the guys that were in form, or just play those guys because we're going to need them once it comes to the big games. And I think the guys were undercooked. We were probably taking the game a little easy. And when you get into the game, all of a sudden you score tries, but damn, they score as well. You score, they score as well. And they just stay in the game. And as you come to the end, all the pressure's onto you. So that was tough. But after that, pulling together, going through a tough pool stage, beating Samoa, beating Scotland, beating Wales in the quarterfinal, and then losing against the guys that won the World Cup quite easily in the final by only 2 points. I think we were really close to winning that again.
Just close off that Japan game. I'm not going to let you off that easily. Talk us through those last minutes. Was there a moment where it's just sort of almost incredulity of like, how are we in this situation? And then you feel the pressure and you were thinking we might actually lose this.
Yeah, up till about 60 minutes, it was like, we're going to run away with it now, because every time we want to score a try, we go score a try. But then somehow they get a try as well, and they just stay. Going into that last minute, them getting that penalty, now they can kick for goal and it will be a draw, and it's like, and then they went for the side, and then you think, oh shit, we're in trouble, we can lose this. It's the first time in that game that I thought we can lose that game. I promise you. I never had, and then what happened? We stopped them all and they score on the other side. So, yeah, one of my worst. And then I get into the change room. I wasn't captain. John de Villiers was captain. And Heine could just say, Victor, you're going out to go speak to the media. And I'm like, no, I'm not captain. Say, you're the most experienced. You know how to do it. Go. And I'm like, what the hell am I going to say? No, not an easy night.
Was it Skalkberger we had on here who said he just took a load of tinnies? As he sat at the back?
Yeah, he had to
sip his beers at the back of the bus. He said it's a dark place, but he's still with us.
No, the change room, we almost died. Then we went back to the team room. And now we had to face, and Heineke Meyer wasn't a happy man. But I knew him. very well from the Bulls. So I just said to the guys, boys, maybe, because I mean, for the first time, it was a team that was guys playing in Japan. Heineke wasn't with a superior rugby team. So we wanted to play this more expansive game as well. And Heineke just said, all of that's done. We're back to South Africa. Like you say, one way, nothing else. We maul, we kick the ball, we don't play rugby. That's all we're going to do. And we're going to defend, we'll play off turnovers. That's it. And I mean, we bought into that, and that's when South Africa is probably at their best.
To be honest, you helped Japanese rugby like make a mark, and you also helped Greg Laidlaw become the most famous man ever in Japan because the week after, I think it was something like 10 million more people tuned in Japan, and Greg Laidlaw kicked all the points, got man of the match. So when we went over to Japan in the 2019 World Cup, Mr. Griggs, the most famous man, he was like David Beckham. He was like the David Beckham of rugby.
We've did a lot for World Rugby.
Yeah, exactly.
We helped them. Yeah. And then they were nice to us so that we can win the World Cup in Japan. So it worked for both teams.
Very smart. Very smart.
Speaking of World Cups, let's go now to the post-World Cup moments after the 07 win. And you signed for Toulon at the very start of that epic journey to the top of European rugby. What were the highlights of that season in France?
Yeah, it was actually also a funny story where we were playing Australia before the World Cup, even in Tri Nations. And there was a lot of talk about me joining Georgie in Toulouse, and Georgie, like in the line out, is like, Vic, are you joining me? And I just gave him a little wink, and he was very happy. So, I mean, what a man. They love to hate George Cregan in South Africa, but one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in your life. I mean, I arrived there. He just helped me sorting everything out, from language, from food, from everything. He was just there. And I mean, playing with those guys, Andrew Mertens, Tana being our coach, Anton Oliver, Dan Lugo on the wing. It was just unbelievable. And yeah, it's probably just too easy for us wherever we went. So we probably weren't at our best. There was only one big game, and it was against Racing Metro that also started buying quite a few guys because it was the two richest clubs now playing second division, wanting to go up to first division. And on that weekend, a few of our South African boys that were like in the middle left. They went back home or something. So we had a big braai at my place in Karkeran. And that evening, we went downstairs, we had quite a few beers, and then next morning I got called in by Tana. I said, listen, I'm the biggest name in the team here in them, and these people that said I was out last night, but I said it's a Wednesday night, can go out. He's only playing on Saturday, but he weren't very happy. So I felt pretty bad because I've never been in trouble with anything like that. And then I had my best game over there. I think we stole about 8 lineouts. It was just like whenever they threw, it was our ball was our ball. Man of the match, president loving me. And yeah, my only time was man of the match in France, and that was after I had a night out in town and I got called in by the coach.
I hope you had a word with Tanner after and said, listen, see, I can do it.
I said to him, I told you I can go out on Wednesday, and I'm even better then.
Wednesday's my night now, Tana. What were the hardest things to get used to over in France?
Yeah, the language is probably the toughest thing. We were a lot of foreigners there, so we didn't really get to speak French. All our training sessions were in English, almost with someone helping the French boys. So the language was a big barrier, and I think sometimes you would like to almost get to become mates with the locals, but it's just difficult because you can't talk to each other. So that's the rest of it was just brilliant. My wife and my kid just loved it. I mean, in May, June, if you come back from training at 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the evening, they still be down on the beach, just enjoying life. Going down to the market, get fresh food. So no, we really loved it. It was fantastic.
Any good stories about Murad, the owner?
Yeah, the only thing that was pretty tough, if you lose a game and you were supposed to fly, then all of a sudden you were in a bus for 14 hours. So very emotional. And the first time as well where you got a president coming in at the captain's run doing the team talk. But I actually enjoyed it because he paid so much money. I just thought, well, he's allowed to do it. It's his team. So if he pays us, he can probably be just wherever he wants.
What were his team talks like? Did he do it in French or did he do it in English?
He did it in French. I didn't understand. So
No,
I just sat there. Yeah.
Just very passionate.
Yeah. No, very passionate. But I mean, he loved it. I mean, Toulouse were nowhere. He came in, spent a lot of money, and they won 3 Heineken Cups. So he did well.
How good is that? That is so cool, eh?
At the end of your season in France, you captained the Springboks to their first ever victory at the House of Pain in Dunedin. Where does that day rank for you in your illustrious career?
I mean, New Zealand's the toughest team to beat. Even when they're not at their best, you just don't beat New Zealand. And of course, I got the yellow card with 7 minutes to go, and we were still behind. And then Ricky January scored a try. And John de Villiers is still claiming, but he was the captain because he was the captain on the field when I left. So he's still claiming he was the captain who won the game in Dunedin. So it wasn't me. So I need to give it to him because he captained the boys and we were behind when I was on the field. So yeah, no, it was pretty good.
What was the toughest All Black side that you faced throughout your career?
Well, all of them were pretty tough, but my toughest game ever against New Zealand. So now we've beaten them in 2009. We've beaten them 3 times. We've beaten them with the Barbarians. And we pitch up in Auckland at Eden Park to play them. But we're the same team that we've beaten them the previous year. And they just smashed stuff. I remember myself, I broke my nose for the first time in my career. Blood were coming down. I remember coming back to South Africa, front page of Sports Illustrator, me being bloody. Now all of a sudden we're all too old and there needs to be change before World Cup. But I must say that game, and probably that team as well, from there went on to 2011. That was a very good All Black side.
Who were the players on that squad that the whole South African side were going, these are some incredible players?
The 2 names that always comes up is Richie McCaw, Dan Carter. Then you have, of course, the centre combination that played for years. But the one guy that I thought that was never rated that highly was Jerome Kaino. And I think the All Blacks are still struggling because he just brought them their toughness that he's always in your face, almost as Simon Shaw, but I mean, he's on the loose forward, but he's just in your face, never gives a step back. And yeah, he's just always there. So yeah, for me, I've always said it. I mean, Richie McCaw must be the greatest. You've played against Dan Carter, who was so special. And for me, it was so nice because I had so many battles against those 2 guys with the Springboks All Blacks, but also with the Bulls playing Crusaders. And the Bulls Crusaders, we probably had the upper hand more, but with the All Black Springboks, they probably got the upper hand a little bit more. So yeah, for me and Farida Priya, it was always measuring ourselves against those 2.
Hey, Victor, just a quick one. I saw, obviously, Big Jim sporting some dodgy old shorts out in Hong Kong. I think he played in the Tens game, a charity match. Do you reckon you could still run about now, or is the body absolutely fucked?
They wanted me to play. I think I'm still pretty fit. So I do a lot of cycling, still my same weight, doesn't look too bad. But I'm just not brave enough anymore to make contact there. So I was in the thing up for playing in the Legends game with it, and I just said to him, there's no chance. I'm getting stuck in it. But because you're competitive, once you get on the pitch, you think you're still the same. You're going to throw yourself in there. So I just said, no, I'll be on the side, the one, having a lekker big log in my hand, but I'll be here supporting you guys.
Lekker big lager. I love it. Do you reckon at the moment, right, the way that the game's going, do you think the game's going a bit soft now? Genuinely.
I've been very outspoken, especially in South Africa, being on SuperSport about all the yellow and red cards. I want the game clean, but we want it physical. We want guys getting stuck in each other. I don't know if you guys saw the clean out of Bizmark Du Plessis last week. We got a yellow card where we thought it shouldn't even be a penalty. That's what you waited for in a game, opportunity to blow someone in the ribs, in the back. You want to inflict pain. That's why we play this game. And all of a sudden, he did everything right, but it was maybe just too painful for the guy, and he gets a yellow card. And So I've been very outspoken about if there's no intent on really being outside of the law and to hurt someone, you can't give a card. It's fine, give a penalty, but giving a yellow or red card, because I know we all play the game. I mean, you make an adjustment tackle, it's by accident you slip off, or by accident your head makes contact with someone else. I mean, you don't want your head in that situation as well. So it's an accident. And now all of a sudden, you get a World Cup final, 2 accidents, 2 yellow cards, and a World Cup final is over. And I don't think it should be like that. Games shouldn't be decided by just an accidental. It's a different thing if someone runs from the side, punch someone in the face, or swinging arms straight in the face. That we don't want to see in the game. But I mean, accidents or just really hard, good tackles on the chest or whatever. That's part of the game. We want to see or a big clean out. I mean, these days, the moment there's a big clean out by a big guy where someone ends up on his arse, there's a yellow card. I mean, where must you clean? How must you get that guy off the ball?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think we are. I think we're fine about it. Yeah. And like you said, as soon as there's a big clean out, quick, jump on the TMO. Let's just check it. Why?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, and with
any
some
reason.
people nowadays,
yeah,
exactly, milking it a little bit. We've actually got the Lions this weekend in the European quarters, and the big fella from the Lions, the bone collector, they call him.
The bone is still going.
He's still going. He's a big old man as well.
Yeah.
Interesting to see how we go this weekend with them. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. People want to see pain.
Victor, speaking of playing the game, the 2011 World Cup wasn't as memorable as the previous one, of course. Apart from the fact you retired from rugby after it, only to come out of retirement 2 years later. How did that all come about?
It's actually a long story. So I've said earlier about the relation with Heineke Meyer. So, I mean, after 2007, after the Bulls won the best, everyone thought Heineke will become the Springbok coach. And, I mean, he would make me captain immediately because we've won everything with the Bulls together. And then it didn't happen. And then I announced my retirement after 2011. And a month later, he gets appointed as Springbok coach. And of course, the first call he made was to me. He said, "Listen, Victor, will you come back out of retirement?" And like my wife said, he's the only guy that will be able to get me to jump into a fire with my eyes open. And I said to him, "Well, Heineke, I've retired, but if you think so, what's your expectation?" He said, "Help me for 2 years, just so that the players can get used to me." And just settle things down for me. And I said, "Okay, let's do it." And as I wanted to do it, SADA, or the Drug Association, said, "No, I can't. I need to be back in the doping pool for 6 months before I can play again." But I said, "But I haven't missed a game. I was out of the doping pool because I retired for 3 weeks. But I want to put myself back in. There was no games, nothing." And I said, "Well, you can't, because once you're out of the doping pool and you've played international, you have to be back into it for 6 months." So left it at that. And then at the end of the year, that same year, he calls me again and said, "Victor, okay, I had someone else. I still want you to come back, but now I think you can play till the next World Cup." And I said, "Well, the Bulls offered me this job now, so I have to say yes or no to them within the next 3 weeks. You need to get everything sorted from the doping to a contract so that they pay me a certain amount and everything. And you need to sort out the Bulls that I don't have to play and whatever." And he couldn't sort it out. It was just too quick on him. He was busy with it, but he couldn't. And then I said, "Well, I'm going to sign to get to. I don't want to miss out on this coaching job with the Bulls." So I signed that. And then next year, 3 months later, January, February, after end of year 2, he said, "Well, I don't give a hell. I'll sort things out with the Bulls. You just put yourself back in the doping pool." I said, "Well, okay, I'll put myself back in the doping pool." Coached the Bulls that year. We lost in the semi-finals of Super Rugby. And then at the end of the year, when I was ready to go, he said, "Well, here's your contract with SA Rugby. You signed for 2 years up to the World Cup. Don't have to play. You have to play like 2-3 games for the Bulls a year just to get ready." And I said, "Well, okay, then I'm coming back. Let's do it." And then I went to Bermuda, played for the Legends just to get some game time. And then it was back into, the usual.
Oh, so you passed up the bit where he said go and play some competitive rugby for the Bulls and went and played for the Legends team in Bermuda.
Much easier to get back into like that, yeah.
Just to get the
dip
lungs
your
I
going.
was
toe.
by
Yeah.
way the fittest guy there and still in shape, so it helped. So I looked good as well.
Yeah, give yourself a bit of
Oh.
confidence. That's very
Confidence.
smart.
No, for sure.
Did anyone have the
Oh,
guts
good.
to give you shit about this within the squad? Like, he's just showing up for the big games.
But it's difficult because I kept on, so I was player coach still with the Bulls. I was still coaching. And then, I mean, the lock playing in my position, I'm coaching him. And then 2-3 games before the box, he needs to go to the bench because I need to play. So it wasn't a very easy position I was put in. But yeah, we tried it. And yeah, played another World Cup.
That is crazy, eh? So you were like running line-out sessions and every now and then being like, can I just jump in for a couple?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I would run like so because I coach the attack. So in defense, I'll be in doing the defense. When they do the attack, I'll be in the back coaching. Don't run it because I know what to do.
So good.
And then you did finally decide to end your illustrious career with one last season in the Premiership post World Cup, playing for Northampton Saints. Did you enjoy your time in the Prem?
Not that much. So I was actually very excited because going for 6 months in 2007, Northampton actually thought they signed me, and then Toulouse just came with much bigger offer. So I rather went to Toulouse. So when I got the opportunity, it just felt like the right thing to do because the previous time was close to that. Very excited. Arrived there the first week. Great guys in the team. Really enjoyed the guys in the team. Saw how they did things. And then the second week, went into the Dorian West office. Said, listen, Dorian, I see this is what you're doing in the lineouts. Can I have a look? Can I just show you something that what we did in South Africa? How we did certain things. And he had a look at it and he said, no, it won't work in the Premiership. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, no, every game is on TV. And I said, Dorian, all test matches also on TV, all Super Rugby is also on TV. I don't know, but it won't work. I said, but can we try certain? No, we've got our way and it's working. And just there, they lost me completely. So I weren't allowed to bring anything new, bring anything that, I mean, why they signed me. You signed me because I was probably the best lineup forward in the world. But now I can't change your lineup. I have to go into your system, can't bring anything new. So, yeah, it weren't very easy.
Gone from not even having to play rugby and being able to play for South Africa to not being able to change your line out. You must have been like, whoa, hold on a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't how it works, boys.
I mean, I was 39 years old. Why do you sign me? I'm not the youngest kid running around bashing people. I'm there for, listen, let's try this. Let's make this better. No,
I
remember
hearing
then I went
this.
to kickoffs. Said, kickoffs, can we just change our structure because you're not getting locks in the air? It's just not working. I can show you how we do it. I've never lost a kickoff, one or two, maybe almost never. No, won't work. And then I was just, okay, I'm here, do whatever you want. Let's just run through this. Pay me my money and I'm happy.
I remember at the time when Victor signed for Northampton, I was at Bath, and I remember hearing because Victor, you weren't when you first got there, you weren't starting loads and stuff, and someone had told me that apparently you came along for the lineouts. Literally that story. I heard that story, and I heard about Dorian West before. He's a very shrewd and stubborn man about what he wants to do and topless mauling sessions, that kind of weirdness, like the Northampton way back there. Yeah.
But I mean, the first week I arrived there and I'm like, can I get the line out? Can I get the line out calls? Can I get the movements so that I can get up to speed? No, we don't have those. I said, don't you have anything on paper? No. I'm like, how must I know what to do? Now you'll get it on the field. And I'm like, really? And then, I mean, playing structures as well. So I said to them, don't you have face play? Don't you have certain setups? Don't you have? No, we have one or two, but and then I went to and I sat with the players and I showed them how we map things out, how we would have exactly a guy running off there, having this shape, this angle. And they were just, no, they didn't want to listen. I said, okay.
I'll just take my rand
you wish.
to South Africa, just put it in the bank.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was tough.
Victor, you played for South Africa more times than anyone else in history and have been involved in some great teams. We've asked you to put together your best Springbok 15 of all time. Who have you gone for?
Oh, so Lucid, I mean, it's touch and go between Ostirand and the Beast, but just because I played more games with him, I'll have to go with Ostirand. At hooker, same thing. John Smith, my captain, Bismarck Du Plessis, the best hooker I played with. But I mean, all the best things I've won, John Smith was there, so I'm going to go with John at number 2. At tight end, I'm going to go with a guy that hasn't played that many games with, but I just think he's unbelievable. We played 2015 with him, Frans Malherbe, and he's just still winning games for South Africa week in and week out. So Frans Malherbe at tight end. Then in the second row, do I have to pick myself? You said I have to be in there. So I need to go with a combo with myself and Bakkies. Although I think Eben Etzebeth is probably the best lock that the world has ever seen. He's probably got what Bakkies and himself have together in one player.
What exactly about Eben makes him the best lock, do you think? Like, if you had to specifically put it down?
I think he's got the physicality of a Bakkies Botha. I mean, he's that player. If he's on the field, no one will get in his face. Everyone gives a step back. I mean, everyone talked about Maro Itoje, Lions Test match. He started diving because he couldn't stand up to it even a bit. And then he's athletic. I mean, there goes a kick up. He's the first guy going up to catch that ball. And he's just all over. He's just got an engine that you can't believe. I mean, okay, he can't call lineouts, but I mean, his athletic ability to get in the air is just unbelievable. But I think playing with me, Bakkies, the way we just work together, so I'll go with Bakkies and myself. Open sider, I'm going with Heinrich Brousseau. He was a match changer for us when he came in. We always played with Skalkie Burger at open side. Jake didn't believe in the real feature in the game, but when Heinrich Brousseau came in 2009, he just changed the way we played, and I think we were much better with him at open side. Blindside flanker, I'm going with Juan Smith, played for us in the World Cup, and just a guy that never stops. He's in your face the whole time, just coming on defense, on attack, and I mean, at the line-out time, he was very good as well. At 8th man, PSPs were unbelievable, but you need to have Skalkberg in your team. So if I don't pick Skalkberg at open side, I'm picking Skalkie at 8. And I think he developed into that play in his career as well. In the beginning of his career, he just wanted to smash into everything and everyone. At the end of his career, he just had that skill of being that first receiver, playing options in front, behind, and he just had a beautiful skill set, but he still had that engine. So Skalkie is at 8.
Very
Number
important
9 is
socially as well. Very important socially, I hear. He's a good man to have.
He's always there till then. Always there. He's so good for the team environment.
Important.
At 9, Farida Priya, the best player I've played with my whole life, against and with. Just an unbelievable player. So that's an easy choice. Also my vice captain. If I'm the captain, of course, we won a lot of trophies. 10 is difficult for me. So Bucci was unbelievable. But I'm going also with a youngster. I coached him before I played with him, and then I played with him 2015 World Cup. And he's probably not just your natural fly-off, but he knows how to win games, and he's just such a tough guy. So Andre Pollard at 10, although I just played 1 or 2 seasons with him. Centers, 13 is easy, Jacques Fourie. Best 13 I've played with by far. 12 is difficult. John de Villiers, Frans Steyn. They're so different and they're so good, both of them. And I'm mates with both, so it's one of them is not going to be happy with me. But I'll go with John de Villiers because I just played with him for a very long time. Frans is an unbelievable player as well. I mean, he can start in there any time. And I mean, he came in 2007 when John was injured and we won that World Cup. So John and Jacques on centers. Then the wingers are pretty easy. Brian Abana on the left and JP Peterson on the right. 2 legends. I mean, 2 guys that can finish. Everyone knows about Brian, but I think JP probably very underrated. But he would finish every time we get an opportunity. He was solid on defense, so good under the high ball. And then at 15, Mr. Consistency, Percy Montgomery. And we need that blonde locks in the team as well, just for team spirit.
And Dorian West is the coach.
Yeah.
Yes. But we need to give him a few slaps before we get into the game.
Yeah, he needs the initiation.
Yeah. Is he? I see. I think he's coaching somewhere at this stage. Is he back into coaching somewhere?
Sale. Yeah, Sale. He's at Sale now.
Oh, I feel sorry for
with the Dupree twins and the boys. Yeah.
Interesting.
Right, let's just wrap up with the our quick fire round. First thing that comes into your head, aside from Currie Du Plessis, best player you've ever played with.
Bakkies Botha.
Aside from Currie again, best player you've ever played against.
Richie McCaw.
Biggest fight you've witnessed in training.
Training. Bakkies and Dani Rousseau going each other.
Was there a winner?
Everyone jumping in between with the losers.
Screaming, crying.
Player who's rubbed you up the wrong way the most in your career.
Just Bakkies' early days.
Yeah, Bakkies' early days in South Africa. And there was a guy in South Africa, Willem Stolz, who played for the Lions and the Stormers. I mean, his favorite thing was ripping my headgear off and throwing it into the stand. So he was the worst guy. You guys won't know him.
And finally, 3 guys in a cab with you, a very large cab, I'm sure, for the biggest party of your life.
Rita Priya, Skulk Burger, and Ali Williams.
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
Nice.
Well, Sandy, that is all the time we've got left for this week. A huge thank you to Victor for taking us through his incredible career. Thanks to Max and Ryan, as always. And thank you all for listening and watching. And we'll see you all next week.